Thank you. As Vice Chair of the Commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 9:04 a.m. This Zoom webinar is being live streamed on YouTube at www.youtube.com/MICHSOS-office/videos. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI to find the link for viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, and Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those transcriptions will be made available and posted on michigan.gov/MICRC along with written public comment submissions. There is also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. This portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by both the commission and the public. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the purposes of the public watching and for the public record, I will now turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good morning, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. If you are attending the meeting remotely, please announce during roll call that you are attending remotely and disclose your physical location by stating county, city, township, or village, and the state from which you are attending. I will start with Doug Clark.
Present.
Juanita Curry.
Present.
Anthony Eid.
Present.
Brittany Kellum. Rhonda Lang. Steve Lett.
Present.
Cynthia Orton.
Present.
MC Rothhorn.
Present.
Rebecca Satella.
Present.
Janice Villette.
Present.
Aaron Wagner. Richard Weiss.
Present.
Dustin Witches.
Present.
10 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
Thank you. As a reminder to the public watching, you can view the agenda at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I will now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Rothhorn, seconded by Commissioner Witches. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? Hearing none, it is moved and seconded to adopt the meeting agenda. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. The agenda is adopted and the ayes prevail. Without objection, we will now move to the public comment pertaining to agenda topics portion of our meeting. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comment pertaining to agenda topics. We do not have any individuals signed in to provide live in-person commentary today, so we will move directly to the remote in-person commentary. Individuals who have signed up and indicated that they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you're on the phone, a voice will say that the host would like you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call on you by your name. Also, please note that if we experience technical or audio issues, or if we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so that you can participate during the next public comment period at a later hearing or meeting. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. The first in line to provide public comment is Mr. James Gallant. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Do I have permission to speak, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Gallant.
All right, this is James Gallant with the Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and these are my opinions. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that is what I hope for all of you, is that you get the liberty and justice for all, but while you're actually providing it to everybody else also. Now, I'd like to point out the parliamentary procedure issues that went on yesterday when you had to backpedal on the agenda. Oh, geez, you just didn't vote on that. You had amendments. Okay. The rules require that you properly dispose of all business before you move on to the next. This is the biggest problem we have here, is you're starting discussion first in order to confuse everybody. And now they're clearly confused. And the chair clearly assigned the floor to the executive director, which then assigned the floor to Mr. Brace. Now, Mr. Brace just kind of missed his own advice, and he has allowed this commission to paint himself into their corner when he was facilitating the discussion on an action item on the agenda when there was no motion second pending. So Mr. Brace is now working with this commission to contravene the Constitution and interfere with the proceedings. And he also interfered with the proceedings when he had secret meetings with Commissioner Clark to come up with that flowchart thing. They said, oh, nobody even knew about that. And then, here it is. You're going to rubber stamp it. This is what's happening the whole time. And I believe these proceedings are being coordinated by Edward Woods III. In his application, he said that he transformed the board of a nonprofit corporation as the executive director. He has no authority to do that. Executive director is not on their job description, and he doesn't on his job description or his plan to create a documentary. Yet he's doing it. He's going to present that, and he's going to say, oh, look what I got. Will you approve this? Well, but we're paying him. How much has he been on his clock been making this documentary? We need to see that, where he's at, who he talked to, and why he even started to begin with, because he said, well, don't you remember? We discussed that. Yeah, you discussed it at a meeting, and hearing no objections, he felt that was a decision that he could move forward on that project. When
Your allotted 2 minutes has ended. Please conclude your statement, Mr. Gallant. Thank you for addressing the commission. Now that the first opportunity for both in-person and remote public comment has concluded without objection, we will now hear from individuals seeking to provide a second 2-minute public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide a second live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. We will use the same process as the first round. First in line to provide a second remote public comment is Mr. James Gallant. Please wait for the staff to unmute you.
Do I have permission to speak, Madam Chair?
Absolutely, Mr. Gallant. Please go ahead.
Okay, this is James Gallant again, and you just dogged me again. And Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, these are my opinions, yes. And, this is the problem, is the chair is coordinating to not follow the rules. This is exactly what they're doing at the Michigan Suicide Prevention Commission, which I still have a pending civil rights complaint at the Civil Rights Commission about their proceedings and how they violated my legal rights. And now you're doing the same thing here. And now last week you did I believe Commissioner Rawthorne's here today. He pointed out that you didn't vote on that emergency procurement request. He said, hey, guess what? Kind of maybe didn't, did we kind of vote on that? And then I believe Commissioner Lang also pointed out, and the chair said, oh, well, thank you for reminding her or pointing out her mistake. Well, you still didn't vote on that procurement, I believe. I didn't think it happened, didn't come back. And now here you're doing this. This is supposed to instill trust in the community for your processes. And you are completely confused. And now Mr. Brace, I believe, and the other guy, Bruce Adamson, have interfered with the proceedings by taking part in debate and facilitating the discussion before there's a motion, before there's anything before the commission. The deliberative assembly part means that you're deliberately talking about a immediately pending question. You have to vote. You have to motion second to provide a question to deliberately talk about it. So you're not bringing the business deliberately. You're winging through it. You're all winging on the fly. This is fly-by-night stuff. And I'm hoping that it's not going to fly all the way to the end to get the brass ring that you're trying to change the rules and reset the system. This is just the opposite of what you approved to say the rules, and then you come here and do the opposite. It's very clear now, and I'm going to be bringing my documentary is going to be how to make it so that your best practices do not win the debate at the end of the day. And you dogged me on the extra getting my finishing my sentence on the last time. You said finish your sentence. She cut me off. Whoever cut me off, I didn't get to finish my sentence.
You're
And,
allotted 2 minutes has ended. Please conclude your statement, Mr. Gallant.
oh yeah, can I conclude my statement though? You don't shut me off before I conclude my statement. Whoever's shutting it off, and this is just completely opposite of what the people of the state have included in their voted for the amendment to have Democrats and Republicans here. And I still not believe, and I have not been able to verify that we have Democrats and Republicans
Thank you
here.
for addressing the commission, Mr. Gallant. Your time has ended. That concludes our public comment for this afternoon. We will now move on to
Madam
unfinished.
Chair,
Yes.
apologies for the interruption. We had one more individual who signed up who was not present previously, but has just joined, if you would allow them.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I don't have her name in front of me. What was the name again?
Sure. This participant's name is Rosalind Denning.
Rosalind. Okay. All right. At this point, we will allow Rosalind to speak. Please wait for staff to unmute you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for taking the time to allow me to speak. I want to thank all the commissioners for the work that you're doing. I'd like to reiterate and emphasize the importance of this work of mapping Michigan. I wanted to take time to say something because yesterday I watched the meeting and I felt like there were some mixed signals. Yesterday, I got the impression that the first assignment was to become familiar with the software that's going to be used for mapping. And with that being said, I was expecting each commissioner to be allowed possibly a week to work through the kinks that they were having with the software and not make decisive decisions as to which plan would be followed. And so I wanted to bring that point to all of you that I think it would be important to consider coming up with a date for the drawing completion of the map first, and then look at some of the factors that you're going to consider, whether it's economic recovery, geography, population, communities of interest, then to establish the number of regions and to decipher the difference between the district and the region. And then most importantly, to work as a team, to set realistic deadline dates for each phase of the process that's attainable for everybody so that the process is equitable and accountable. And again, I want to thank you for allowing me to express my concern and my beliefs. And thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you for addressing the commission, Ms. Denning. That concludes our, our public comment for this morning. We will now move on to unfinished business, agenda item 5A, determining regions with which to begin mapping. Without objections, I will ask the commissioners about their work on the software yesterday and if they are ready to move forward with creating regions. Hearing no objection, I invite the commissioners to provide their input and to continue discussion. Commissioner Lett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did draw a region, 9 regions for consideration. If Kim can bring those up.
Your microphone isn't on, Mr. Bryce.
Yeah, Sarah, I need a link to the Zoom meeting.
Sure. It was sent to you about 10 minutes ago, and we'll resend one right now.
I can, when it comes up, it's not hard. I made 9 regions. I made them roughly equal in the number of counties. I think the lowest was 6 and the highest was 10. Is basically laid out in a grid, roughly of equal size, numbers 1 to 9. And the purpose simply is to be able to identify an area or region that we're talking about and make it easy to find. That's all. There wasn't any other reason to make them that way. There wasn't, and so that's it. That if it's something that the commission chooses to use, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. No better than worse than any we saw yesterday.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. Any other comments?
Sorry, this is Commissioner Witch's. My thought on it is that, excuse me, 9 regions is in fact the better number in my opinion. I've done a couple of them at 9, I believe now. And it seems to line up perfectly for the same reasons as what Steve just brought up, an area to find, look at, and start.
Is this your map that Mr. Brace is pulling up right now, Steve? Okay. So I'm just curious why you're splitting the Upper Peninsula, because there's so little population there. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Has nothing to do with population.
Okay.
It's simply an area, so that if we're talking about, can't read that far, whatever the number is, okay, we're gonna work with
The
area.
purple and the green, we know what you're talking
We're
about.
gonna work with the green, that's, everybody knows where that is. Yeah, shut up.
Can you zoom out a little bit, Mr. Brace?
I'm wondering, there, okay.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Does this kind of split the Lansing area or the 3 counties that comprise Lansing in the same region? I can't tell from that distance.
Didn't even look at it.
Okay.
All this does
It's just divided up.
kind of divided up in roughly equal areas, numbering them so that whenever we're working in that, a county in that area, we say, okay, we're in number 1, everybody knows where to go.
Okay.
That's all it does. Makes no judgment on what county ought to be in what square.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lett. Does anyone else have a plan they want to discuss or any comments on Commissioner Lett's plan? Everybody's really quiet this morning. Go ahead, MC Thorne.
I'll just say, because I wasn't here yesterday, I did watch the meeting and appreciate that my plan was brought forward. I have no strong opinion. I do feel like it's regional and I have no strong opinion. So I'm happy to go with whatever we decide.
Go ahead, Commissioner Witches.
I was just going to say again that that's exactly what these regions are designed for. It's just a place to look and start working. And then if we get tired of one particular area, we can move to another area and start there and work back up to it. So it has nothing to do with districts, just some place to start, look at, and have everyone focus their attention.
Commissioner E.
Yeah, I think it's a fine map that gets the job done for setting regions for sure. My map that I submitted also had the UP split up into 2, just because it's a large land area, nothing to do with population, as we've said already. The only comment I have is that your district that's light blue and 1 kind of combines the Metro Detroit area with a whole bunch of other areas too. And I know you had 9. My only thoughts would be, well, if we put that up to 10, we could maybe have, Wayne County, Oakland County, and Macomb County as one region, and then the rest of your light blue section there in a different one. That just might make it easier going forward. But besides that, I mean, it's a great map.
Yeah, I do kind of like how Doug's test plan number 5 just has, I believe it's Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County as a single region. So you have that high population sort of in a smaller region, because I think that was almost 5 million people or something like that. I did kind of like that. Is there any way that we can, I don't know, I might be exceeding the capabilities with the Zoom to pull up both of them side by side, like maybe have them in separate windows? Would you be able to do that and be signed in at the same time, Mr. Brace? I don't know if your software will allow that. Oh, you know what? Is it possible for you to take a screen capture of this and then open up the other map and then open up the screen capture at the same time? That might be able to see them both. Actually, I might even be able to do that. So let me take a screen capture of this, open up the second map, take a screen capture, and then put them side by side.
The other possibility is if, Dustin, if you want to get in and look at, you can call up now. I think I've made everybody administrator. So you could bring up one of the maps and we could see your screen and my screen at the same time as a possibility. And you were, Madam Chairman, you were talking about the Doug's test plan 1, or no, his test plan?
Test plan number, I believe it was number 5.
5, yeah, that's right. All right.
Commissioner Witches?
Mr. Brace, did you say there was a separate link that we had to get in to click in for to get administrator type
For
of
the
thing?
administrator, yes, indeed. And I haven't sent that to everybody. I apologize for that. Well, we can all bounce back and forth between the 2 plans. I don't know that I can put both of them up at the same time.
Can, we can view this on the web version, right? We don't need to be logged in through the,
Right,
okay.
that's correct, yeah. That's not. So this is Doug's test plan 5. A little bit different configuration. Indeed, he did 10 as opposed to 9 and separated out the Wayne and Macomb area into separate districts. So that's Doug's, and going back to Steve's. And that's Steve's.
Kim, were there any other new maps made between yesterday's meeting and this morning?
There was Steve, and then Juanita ended up trying to do a test, I see, but I don't know if is that a finished map or? It's a map, okay.
I'm still trying to catch on to what's going on. We just got straightened out a little bit, so.
Yeah, I can bring up what she's got drawn so far. Okay. She's just got 2 districts for Juanita yet. She's moving along though. That's good. That was the only new one was Juanita's. And Commissioner Letts. Any other?
Go ahead, Commissioner Lett.
I move that we adopt Doug's Plan 5. It's a little more detailed than mine and finer resolved down in the southeast corner, which may make it easier in the long run.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Witches to adopt Commissioner Clark's test plan 5 that was discussed yesterday. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? Okay, seeing no discussion or debate, let's vote on this, but I'm going to ask Department of State to call a roll call vote on this.
Happy to, Madam Chair. Commissioners, please indicate your support of the motion with a yes or no. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Doug Clark,
Yes.
Juanita Curry,
Yes.
Anthony Eid,
Yes.
Steve Lett,
Yes.
Cynthia Orton,
Yes.
MC Rothhorn,
Yes.
Rebecca Satella,
Yes.
Janice Villette,
Yes.
Richard Weiss,
Yes.
Dustin Witches.
Yes.
With unanimous yes, the motion carries.
Thank you, Department of State. All right, so the ayes prevailed, the motion is adopted, and we have adopted test plan 5 with the 10 regions as the regions with which we are going to use to begin drawing our maps. So at this point, we can now move on to new business. Agenda item 6A, preparing to begin mapping. Without objection, I will ask Mr. Kim Brace from the Election Data Services to facilitate this portion of the agenda. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Brace.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chairman. What we're going to do, we've all yesterday, we were using the My Districting software. What we want to move to is the newer piece of software, the standalone piece of software. Autobound Edge is what it's called. I know that we had some issues with some people yesterday. MC, I think we need to make sure that you get the software installed on your computer.
Working on that right now.
Very good. All right. I figured you'd have a good handle on that one already, or the state was able to come in and help you on that side. So that's great. Was there any other people that had any problems getting the software installed?
We have about 7 installed right now. I have a list. I sent the list of those who still need it to DTMB so they can work with those people today. They no longer have to do that authentication with the VPN because MDOS will not approve the administrator rights anyway. So we can go direct with DTMB. All they ask is do not call them for service after they get this installed down. Again, we'll be working directly with Autobound Citygate, Autobound Edge Citygate with Fred on any technical issues with the software. And then John Morgan did also offer this morning to provide any one-on-one assistance. So if people are having difficulty learning how to use the system, he will provide that assistance with you.
Okay. We will be available, both Election Data Services and Citygate, and I will send an email to everyone with my contacts and Fred's contacts so that you can get a hold of either of us on that side. If I'm in Manassas, I always say, use my landline to call me there. Because my cell phone doesn't always get in the rural area that I am in Manassas. But if I'm not in Manassas, then the cell phone is the best way to get a hold of me. So you may have to try 2 different numbers, but I should be always available on that side for you. What we're going to do today is migrate off of the My Districting software and move over to the Autobound Edge software. And that's what I think most people now have installed on their system. So I wanted to go into that. To start off, if you go down to the start button, now my start button is a little bit different than everybody else's. When I do with my start button, I have kind of a little customized menu of all my different programs that I have. But you also have the capability of coming up, and you should have as one of the start programs, Autobahn Edge. And within the Autobahn Edge, you'll see Autobahn Edge 2020 as a piece of software to start up. So going and starting that up, it'll bring up the Autobahn Edge desktop and the logo as it loads things into the system. And it will come up with a login. Nobody needs to put in a password. That's already preset for each of yours. So just go ahead and log in that regard. And what you will see then is the state of thumb, as I've called it yesterday. The state of thumb is the region that we're going to be drawing with in the next couple of weeks to get a feel for the software and some of the things that it can do for you. And so this is where you want to be at the starting point. Now, when you first come into the software, you'll notice that the active matrix is blank. It's not anything there. In order to bring up the active matrix, you need to go in the right-hand side. I'm going to go through a lot of what's on the right-hand side so that you can follow through and see how the system operates. The starting point is the plan management. That's the first button or tab that is activated. The plan management has the plan manager, the create plan, save plan, incumbents, close plan, and settings on that side. Also, the system has several different areas of the screen that are important to recognize. First off is on the upper right-hand side, there is a district field and a selected layer field. Once you open up a plan, that ends up being the two fields that you kind of want to keep a close eye on because that dictates what district you're going to be assigning the populations to and at what geographic levels. If you remember on the My Districting system, we kept you at the county level. We're not going to keep you at the county level. You'll have all the different levels that are available here. And so you can start going down to individual city blocks and assign or unassign, that sort of thing. So you'll have free reign because what we want you to do is basically come up with some district ideas. If you remember from our conversation yesterday, we had set up so that there are 15 districts that you want to create. And I'll show you where you can make sure you've got 15. But that's the beginning point that we want everybody to play with at that point. There's a bunch of other menus here. By clicking on a menu, you can end up seeing all the different sub-functions in there. Everything from reports and the exchange of data and utilities and the active matrix itself. So we'll go through each of those drop downs as we go forward today. What I want to do is start off with creating a plan. So if you click the create a plan, it comes up with the screen that says create a new plan. Every plan, you need at least a short name for it. So typing in a short name is to help you. I'm going to say test plan for training. and call this plan that. So it needs the short name. You can fill in long names and everything else and how you want to describe it if you want to. It's not necessary. And then it comes down to the plan type. The plan type is a field that lets you define what levels of geography you're going to play with. Right now, it's set up to be the congressional, House of Delegates, and state Senate districts. We'll add another plan type for experiment or state of thumb, probably on that side. That would be a separate plan type. Plan type is really a way of dictating how many districts you're going to create. So if I select state Senate right now, those are my three options. I'm not going to create 38 districts. That's the default, of course, for Michigan. I want to change this to be 15. So this is where I dictate and show how many districts I'm going to be creating. So setting that to 15, and then you can create. And when you click the create field or create button, it then does a couple of things. One, it brings up this plan, and you'll notice now that you have an active matrix with data. All the data is blank right now, but the form is there. The matrix is there so that you can see the various things. If you remember yesterday, I went through the active matrix kind of extensively. We can play with that again, but it's basically a spreadsheet that's connected to the geography that you're assigning. And that spreadsheet shows you totals for the districts that you're making changes to. And that spreadsheet, the rows in that will end up changing with each assignment that you make on that side. So you can see what's the population that you're shifting into the district. And that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be putting assignments and geography into a district. When you do that, it also keeps track of if it needs to come out of another district. And so you'll see not just one district's numbers change. If you have multiple districts, then you'll see multiple districts change. And I'll show you some of the tricks on some of the things that you can look at and see on that side. But basically, the concept is looking at the map and assigning off of the map and seeing the impact on the districts down on the bottom in the active matrix. So what we're going to do is, let me move this remote a little bit out of the way there. What we're going to do, if you notice, and you noticed before, I mentioned the fact that we've got districts and we've got select layers. So let's, first of all, we're going to create this plan. We've got this test plan, and you'll see in the upper left-hand side of the screen, you see, let me open up, you see the name of the plan is up there, Audubon Edge dash, mine is test plan for training in the upper left. So you can always know what plan you're working on that side. So that information is there. There's other pieces of information that we'll go through on the side. There is a menu capability. These are some of the things that will show you how to set up. You can show different views. Let me move this out of the way here so we can see. There's a lot of different things, and we'll go through that today, but there's a lot of different things to play with over there on that drop-down menu. What we're going to do is we're going to start off and we're going to put things into District 1. So if you click on the district on the upper right-hand side, it'll bring up a select district. You notice that the default is unassigned. So if you were to start off and think you're going to be assigning to District 1 and you don't change it here in the select district, it's thinking you're wanting to assign to unassigned. You're assigning to District 0 in essence. So make sure that you're comfortable with where you are and what district you're assigning to. So I'm going to start off with District 1. I'm going to select that, and you can keep this window open if you want to. That's your choice. I'm going to close it so I'm not using up some of the real estate in that regard. Now you see that I'm going to be assigning to District 1. The number 1 is up in the upper right-hand side. You can follow along with me in drawing your own plan in this instance and see what I'm seeing and see what I'm doing. The next layer is.
Kim, could I interrupt?
Yeah.
Could you show us again how you got to District 1?
Yes. Up on district, click with the left-hand mouse on the district layer there, and it'll give you this selection tool. And if you remember, we talked about, and we're assigning 15 districts. That's what you see all the way down, 1 through 15, plus that unassigned. So I've selected District 1 and set it that way. You always know where you're assigning to in that upper right-hand side. The next button down or selection is selecting what layer you want to work from. Remember, GIS is built on layers. And so we're going to talk about those. So we have a bunch of different layers. When you do select layer, it brings up the select geography box. And that is where you can decide, do I want to assign at the county level? Do I want to assign at the precinct level? Do I want to assign at the block level? Now, you may have also townships in yours. If somebody brings up theirs, do you have a 4th layer on select layer? Yeah, I think most of you do. I had not added township on mine, but I need to do that in that regard. So right now I have 3 layers on that side, but your default should have the 4 layers in that regard. So I'm going to set it and go at the voting precinct level. And I'm going to select that on my screen to go there. And select it, and you see in the upper right-hand side, my select layer is voting precinct. Or if you selected township or whatever it was that you've selected, that's going to be in the upper right-hand side. Now, as you draw and you create districts, what it will do is not only keep track of the populations down on the spreadsheet on the bottom, but it also keeps the overall plan calculations in the upper right-hand side. So on the left of the upper right-hand side is the plan deviation. Right now it's set at 200% because I haven't assigned anything on that regard. The minute I assign something, the plan deviation will start changing. Keep in mind that the plan deviation is the total deviation between the highest populated district and the lowest populated district. Right now, if I assign something to District 1, it's not really going to have, until I assign something to District 2, it won't have really an overall plan deviation to calculate on that side. But when you start adding more districts in, then that plan deviation keeps up with where you are. And on the right-hand side of plan deviation in orange it shows what's the largest. That will tell you what are the 2 districts in your plan that are the largest positive number and the largest negative number from the standpoint of the deviation from the ideal. So you can always see where you are. Yes, Anthony, Commissioner?
That's the deviation tab in blue, compares it to the target, correct?
I'm sorry, say again?
You're speaking of the deviation tab over there?
Yes, on the
Okay.
upper right-hand side, right over here.
Oh, okay. Is that
Okay.
the same as what's in the Excel list?
It is the same,
Okay.
yes, yes. So what the upper right-hand side is basically taking the synopsis of what you're seeing on the spreadsheet down below and giving you the overall plan itself, okay? There's a couple of other ways of showing that, but that's certainly, this is the quick way of seeing it. John?
Yeah, I was just going to add, and that's dynamic too. So, as you go through, like if you've got one district that's minus, 12 and you've got one that's plus 25, it'll score as you draw.
Right. Right now, we're going to assign voting precincts into District 1. Now, there's a couple of components to keep in mind in terms of this. Just like you had when you were doing on the web-based software, you had different layers and levels of the data to get into. You also have the same thing here in essence, okay? Now, if I go and showing my entire state of thumb area, and I want to assign to District 1, I'm doing this down at Edit Tools. So go down and click on that layer, and it brings up the sub layers. This is the layer, this is the sub menu that you'll be doing in a lot of your work with in terms of assigning geography. And there's different ways of assigning geography. And we'll go through that. But basically the main component pieces is you have down here about 4 line or 5 lines down, you see the assign button. Okay. That is the way that you can assign territory. So if I click on that, it's highlighted now. So I'm assigning now. And if I go and select a precinct, it's assigning it to District 1. That's the district I'm putting things into. Okay. You'll notice in the upper right-hand side, the plan deviation changed because it's keeping things dynamically. And the largest 2 districts are District 1 is the smallest, and they're saying District 2, we don't have a District 2 yet, but that's kind of the overarching what they'll treat that as a District 2 without it being assigned. Again, that will change as we draw on that side. So I can assign an individual precinct. I can go and assign another one. And you see now my plan deviation comes down to 197% with just those 2 territories. I can go and zoom down in. And when I zoom down in, I start to see other geography. And if I zoom far enough in, I'm down at the level that I can see census blocks. Okay. So now I could, if I wanted to, say that I want to take the territory on the west side of the river here. That's a river. So I can go and assign. Now, I suddenly assigned not at the block level, right? That's what suddenly happened there, because I'm assigning the whole precinct. Okay, so I can go down here and I can say, this is an undo last command and a redo last command down here underneath clear selection. So I'm going to undo my precinct assignment and it goes back to blank. In order to get that side of the river, I need to change my levels of geography. So I'm going to assign this now at the block level on that side. You can do that by the selection up in the box, up on the right, upper right-hand side, or there is another shortcut, and this is this circle that's there called the Quick Tools. If you click on Quick Tools, what it lets you do is change the level that you're assigning. You see right now I have the 3 assignments, the blocks, the precincts, or the counties. I can simply change using that tool as opposed to doing the select layer and going to the next menu. I can use this quick tool as a quick way of doing that. I also have a zoom in, zoom out, and a zoom all. All is the entire state, but I can help on that side with some quick tools to help. So that's another way of getting around. What you'll discover in the software is there's different mechanisms that you can use. So there's some duplications so that you can see what is most convenient for you in how you want to operate. So I'm going to go back and now I'm going to assign at the block level. I've set it to be blocks. And if I point, it's not assigning. Why is that? That's because if I look over on my right-hand side, what is highlighted is the word pointer. It's highlighting just the pointer. It's not assigning because it's moved it from the assign over to pointer. Okay, so that's where you need to double check to where you are. And now I can assign at the block level. And you see, this is 2 separate blocks divided by a river. So remember the geography that I talked to you a long time ago. It seems like these are how you can select and assign. Now, we've been doing it one by one. You can also click in the upper corner and drag, and you get a box that lets you assign now 2 pieces. I'm selecting 2 blocks and assigning those. So I can select any number of blocks in terms of making that assignment. And all right, here is, I'll make note of this because I can see it on my screen. You should be able to see it on yours, on your screen. I don't think it picks up on the projector. But there is another stream that goes into this main stream. But you notice it's a different colored line. It's not a green line. If you see where my mouse is, down at the bottom of these blocks that I've been assigning to, if you click on one of them to assign, it's going to assign the whole thing because there is a line there within the Census Bureau, but the Census Bureau has not defined that line as a block boundary. And so that's why you end up, in essence, having 2 polygons in one, and that's the census block. So that's what's happening in this instance right here on that regard. That's why if I go and unselect again and undo, it's selecting really both of these polygons here. And again, I don't think the projector is doing a great job in picking up that light gray line. I can see it on my monitor. You should be able to see it on your monitors. on that side. Yes.
So you're saying that even though there's a geographical boundary there, which is the gray line, for the census, it's still considered one census block?
Yes, that's correct. The census is recognizing it's picking up the territory that is generally a visible feature, which is a stream or that sort of thing. But in some instances, they're not reflecting that stream. And that's what's happening here in this instance. You'll be able to see the difference. If you look over in this other area, the continuation of that stream comes through here, and that's a grade line on this side of that street or the highway system. But if you look further along, the stream does pick up as block boundaries. It's just some of the quirkinesses of census geography. Sometimes, hopefully states and people that are interested in the geography would end up starting to look at the geography and participate with the Census Bureau's block boundary suggestion program, which takes place in the year ending in 5 generally, where states can go in and say, hey, you missed that stream. I want it to continue over to where it meets, and now for next census, it would be a separate block on that side. So what we have is we can assign multiple sets of geography with that drag and drop function. If I use the roll button on the mouse, I can zoom in or zoom out in that regard and see where things are. Now, if I wanted to move the image down, be cognizant that where you are in the menu. I'm notorious for saying, okay, well, I see that. I want to move up and see what there is up above here. So I'll go and take and drag and oops, I'm suddenly assigning with a drag and drop system. So in order to do at the block level, what it's saying that right now, this error message or this warning is in order to assign, since my assignment layer is the blocks, I need to be zooming into it and be able to see the blocks. So it's not letting me assign at the block because I'm zoomed too far out on that side. So that caught me there, but it means that I can go and use my pointer instead to drag the map down and where I want to go and look at, okay? Again, it's different layers of geography that you're going to play with and be able to assign. Now, if you notice, I've assigned a bunch of blocks, 2 whole precincts around Sandusky, but nothing within the city of Sandusky, according to the Census Bureau's definition of Sandusky. You can see the outline. It is its own set of geography. It is a city, is what the Census Bureau calls them, or what they really call are places. Those are cities in Census Bureau's terminology. The cities are not right now an assignable layer. Cities are much more complicated on that regard. They are not in the normal, what is called the spine of geography that the Census Bureau recognizes. It is an amorphous kind of glob sitting on the side of that spine. And because cities can kind of meander, annex, and make all sorts of changes all the time, it is not a set layer within the Bureau. It's kind of an auxiliary layer. We have not put in cities as an assignable layer. You can assign at the block and do the same thing. But it's because it's a lot more difficult in terms of city geography, keeping track of what's in, what's out. And because you have the potential that in many cities, there are pockets of annexed or non-annexed territory. We look down in Sandusky, if you look at, here is 2 little blocks here that I had assigned to, by doing the voting precinct. This was the left-hand side. Those 2 little blocks are sitting up there as territory from the township, not from the city. So you can see how that has an impact on that side. Again, if you wanted to assign the city, you can go in and at the block level, you can go in and select, let me assign. Again, I moved the whole map because I was on the pointer thing. Yes.
I have a
Cynthia.
question.
Okay.
So just thinking of when we are actually doing the redistricting, how are we going to handle this? It's not contiguous. So, but the block, you're doing it by census block, right? And that's the lowest we can go.
That you're doing it by census block as it relates to, in this instance, Sandusky. Okay. So if I go and with the assign button, I start selecting a whole bunch of the census blocks within Sandusky. When I've selected a bunch, yes, I do want to. Now you see that it's selected a whole bunch of the census blocks. It is actually, if I follow, my city boundary is up here. It's also down here. You can see the orange in the District 1 and outside. So I've got kind of an upper area. So here's, if I go in and assign this polygon here. All right, here's this little piece that is non-city that's being shown as not being assigned. I selected the block that's within the city. Yeah, John?
Let me add something that's responsive to that question. The software will allow you to assign something that is not contiguous.
Right.
There's a check for that later in the process. So if the geographic boundary happens to be not contiguous, like you have Grand Blanc Township and a little piece of Grand Blanc City is within the township, you can select them and you're just going to get a district that's not contiguous. At a later point, you can check that, or you can see it visually and make the change right away and say, oh, well, I'm going to choose a different configuration, or I'm just going to click that little piece of the city into the township district.
So we will have the capability to do that.
Yes.
We won't
Right.
have to,
Right. But
because otherwise I'm thinking we have to change that whole thing and choose a different law.
that's right. You can choose it as you see it and make a different choice, but it won't say at that point, this is not contiguous, don't do that. It's just going to say, this is a geographic feature, select it, you selected it. At a later point, you can again observe it yourself, or there is a software check for non-contiguous areas, and that'll alert you and it'll say, here are 4 non-contiguous areas, and you can go look at them one after another.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go forward and do some more assignments within Sandusky here. Keeping where the city boundary is. Yes, I'm sure I want to assign that. What I ended up doing is I ended up by doing the drag and drop function of assigning, it is selecting any block that you're touching. Okay. So when I did the assignment, I missed touching these 2 blocks up here and these 3 blocks down here. That's why they didn't get assigned. I can go back in and simply do that and say, yes, I want to assign those also. So I don't have a non-contiguous part of the district in that regard. but it's keeping in mind that you're selecting the polygon if you are touching that in your box. Okay. I've got these blocks over here that's still within Sandusky, and that is getting assigned. If I move up to the pointer and I can see where the city boundary line is, basically, it looks like city boundary line comes down here, and that's outside the city, but this is within. So if I want to select that, I can go and select that piece. And now I've pretty closely traced the city boundary as it's showing from the Census Bureau in that regard. Again, as John said, there'll be checks along the way in terms of non-contiguous, and you can also check on whether or not you've picked up everything from the city and what is being recognized.
Hey, Kim,
So-
could you review again how you're using the pointer as an assignment?
Right now, I'm using the blocks as the assignment layer.
Okay,
Okay, so I selected a number of blocks and I'm assigning them to District 1.
wait, how do you select the blocks to assign them?
The selection is either through this quick tools up here,
Okay,
or it's selecting the select layer
okay.
and assigning it at the block layer. Okay.
Mr. Brace, how do we deselect something? So say you select something that's got too much population, you want to take it
Yep.
back off. How do we take it back off?
Okay, good question. What you're going to end up doing is you're going to select a piece of geography. Okay. You're not going to assign it, but you're just going to select it. So if you notice right now, we've had assign, but underneath assign, there's a select box or a select poly. Those are two different mechanisms to select a piece of geography. And you can see assign selected. What you're going to end up doing here is you're going to select, I want to select a piece of geography. Say I want to select this part of the city. It's going to show up as yellow. It is now a selected piece of geography. I can select multiple pieces of geography, one group at a time, but that is a grouping that you can then assign. Okay, so if I want to take this territory here and don't put it into District 1, I can do this select box and then assign selected. But now if I assign selected, what's it going to do?
It's going to put it back to the same district you're in unless you change your district.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
think that's the problem I've been having. So you
Yep,
need to change the district,
Wait,
but you, okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
And let me just add to that as well. When you're selecting like that, it's not actually putting it in the district. It's just selecting it. Sometimes some functionality has a what if box. So you could say, what if I put this township in? How many people will I get? It doesn't do that. It's just going to select it. After you put it in, then it does the calculation.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. And then I have one other question. I thought the other day when you were showing this to us, you had this like hover feature where it was showing you the total population. How do you turn that on so you can see before you select what the population is?
Okay, good question. Let me first of all unassign this selected piece of geography. I want to go in and set my district number to be unassigned and do that. And now if I assign the selected piece of geography, click on that. And should unassign. I don't want to clear the selection. I want to assign it. Basically, I'm assigning let me assign it to District 2. And now, okay. Instead of unassigning, I just selected it to be assigned to District 2.
Okay, so you
Okay.
just changed the district. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
so I changed the district on that side. You can clear the selection. I selected it, and so it was a selected tool. I could have, before I assigned it, I could have just cleared the selection by the other drop down that you have here. Right now, I don't have anything selected, so this clear selection button isn't doing anything for me. But if I were to go and say I want to select this area right here, again, that goes to yellow. So it's highlighting the selected, and I can now clear that selection. That's clearing that assignment there. And it should let me go back to that one being unassigned. Is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I can get, when I do it, I can get it to reassign it to another district, but I can't get it to like clear
It.
out completely,
Yeah.
which is fine, as long as we know to do that. As long as I can change it.
Yeah. There's several different mechanisms. I just got to remember which is the mechanism to answer that specific question. So I can go in and again, I'm going to select into District 2. And when I do the assignment now for these geographies here, I can now select District 2. Now, let me take you down to the bottom of the spreadsheet because we've been playing and making assignments at the precinct or at the block level. All the while on the bottom of the spreadsheet, things have been changing. So we have right now, I have a District 1 and I have a District 2. So if you look at on the bottom of the spreadsheet, you'll see the populations of what I have assigned. In District 1 right now, I have 4,335 people, at least the blocks that I have assigned into District 1. You'll see that on the lower left-hand side of the ACS data. I can also see what the ESRI data shows on the right-hand side of that active matrix. Each of those two sides on that overview tab gives me a number of persons that I'm assigning, but it also then compares that number against the target. What is the target? The target is the ideal district size within this instance, 15 districts. We had selected 15 as the number of districts. So what I'm trying to create here is 15 districts, each of which have 71,175 people in them. I don't have that yet assigned, but that's the target number that I'm showing. The next column over is the deviation. That is, in this instance, the percent deviation from the ideal. And then the difference column is the raw number deviation. So both of those are being calculated off of the ideal for that data set. So on the left-hand side, the data set is the ACS. On the right-hand side, it is the ESRI data. And you can start seeing there's some subtle differences between the two data. So I've got roughly large percentages that are underpopulated. if you notice on the deviation column, that deviation column has not only numbers, and if it's underpopulated, it's red. If it was overpopulated, it would be green. And you see to the right of those numbers, you see an up arrow that's red, which means it's underpopulated and it's got to go up. You need to add people to that district. And if it gets too high, then the arrow is going to turn south and say, you know, you need to take things away from me to bring down my deviation on that side. So the spreadsheet kind of will give you an overview for the individual districts on where they are and where they are from the overall plan also on that side. And if we were to go, and again, if you remember, all of these tabs have different data items on them. So if you wanted to see what they were and more details on the different areas or districts that you're creating, you can bounce over to the various tabs and see that information. Again, each tab is going to be updated and show the numbers reflecting what you're drawing on the screen. So I've assigned in District 1 and District 2, and for each of the tabs, I'm getting numbers in District 1 and District 2, be they raw numbers or percentages. So I can see all of my data as I go along for whatever districts I'm drawing, okay? All right, I'm gonna go back up and zoom out a little bit. Indeed, if I go to, instead of blocks, I'm gonna go back up to the precinct layer level. So I can select voting precincts, and you see in the upper right-hand side, it changes from blocks to voting precincts. So now I'm gonna be assigning at the voting precinct side of things. So I can do and go and assign just by selecting. And so I'm assigning all this territory to District 2 because that was my district number that I was assigning to. Okay. And suddenly I'm starting to see I'm picking up territory. So I'm getting more of District 2 outside of Sandusky in this district configuration. One of the things that has happened, though, keep in mind, and you'll see it on my screen, that I ended up selecting when I did that point and click function of selecting different geographies, multiple geographies. I ended up picking up this township here outside of Marlette or Marlette. Okay, so I've picked up that township outside, but I haven't picked up the city of Marlette. So it is showing as a basic little piece within the township that hasn't been assigned yet. So if this was my district and I said, okay, this is it, it will end up showing me that I've got a non-contiguous piece here. Okay. So, so I can go and make whatever kind of assignments I want to and select the geography and start building my district on that side. Again, I'm at the voting precinct. If I wanted to say that I'm set on this side and I want to take the whole county up here above at the very northern portion of the thumb, I want to assign all of that to District 2. Again, selection layer or the quick tools, set it at the county level. And by having my selected layer at the county, I can now click and select that entire county, all going into District 2. Okay. I'd still need to add more people to it in order to do this. So I can experiment, say that I want to take that entire county next door to it. Now, what you see suddenly is that down here at the bottom of the spreadsheet, it's saying I've got too many people now in District 2. You see that? My arrow button on my spreadsheet is pointing downward, which means I have too many people. You can quick check that indeed what I've got in District 2 is 97,000 people. But my ideal that I'm shooting for is only 71,000. So I've got 26,000 more people than I should in District 2. Okay. Maybe I don't want to take the entire county. That's one mechanism. I could just undo all of it and then drop down and maybe do it at the town level or the township or the precinct in my system. That's one option. So I can do the undo and clear that assignment of the entire county and go back in and change my layer from the county to the precinct. And now at the precinct layer, I can go and assign multiple precincts to start building what would be building up the number of people in that district. Maybe I want to go down the side of this county, not only the top, but down on the side. I'm still 20% underpopulated. So it's just a matter of selecting the geography that you want assigned to this District 2 to build it out. So now that I've done this portion of the county into District 2, I'm within my 5% ideal. You'll see that instead of an up or a down arrow, the difference has turned green and it has got a check mark to it. You're now within that ideal district size that we talked about. We're within that plus or minus 5 or the overall 10% deviation. So you can end up seeing where you are at any particular point in time and whether or not indeed the district is coming into shape of how you want the population to be. Okay. So these are some quick selection capabilities on that side. You've got multiple ways of doing this kind of assignment. As I mentioned, the quick tools, the top of the box, or different drop-down menus here on the right-hand side. All of that is different ways that you can use the information. If I click on the information tool, it will end up now letting me select. So I just hit the information tool and I selected a precinct. And what it did is it brought up on the left-hand side the information for that feature. So if I wanted to see, well, how many people are down here that I haven't assigned yet, I can, with the information tool, select that and see that in that precinct there, you've got all the different population numbers for the whole precinct, all the different characteristics, the different data for the racial groups is all there for that particular, in this instance, precinct. So that is there on the left-hand side by using the information tool. Select target district. That's letting me select and bring up that set district or select district tool. That's another way of doing that. Set the select layer. Again, it brings me back to that box there that comes up, is what layer of geography do you want to assign with? Again, just a different way of doing that selection piece on that side.
Hey, Kim, could you review again how you, let's say, delete a precinct?
To define a precinct or?
No, delete it. Let's say you've put it in District 2 and you want to reduce the population, so you want to delete one precinct.
Right. So
How would you do that?
You can either select it as an unassigned. So you're taking it away. So I can select my select district as unassigned and then select a precinct here. So I can set it to assign to unassigned, and there I've unassigned that. Okay.
Where's the unassigned?
It's basically, it's a combination of what district you're assigning to, and this is district unassigned.
Yeah, it's like its own district.
It's, yeah,
Okay, so I got to change my district to unassigned.
right, yep, yep, that's the key.
That's
yeah.
why I couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah. So you can end up doing that and then unassigning individually or with the box, like what we talked about before. So I can select and unassign numbers of pieces of geography. Okay. So selecting or unselecting, again, is doable and possible with any levels of geography or any territory that you want to do on that side. And so that's, if I want to zoom to a district, I've got, I was going to do 15 districts. I've only got 2 assigned. But if I want to zoom to a district, I hit there and it will give me the box. If I go pointer and zoom to a district, yeah, that's not. Well, I'm not sure why the zoom to district isn't functioning right here. I'll check that out and see what's going on there. Oh, that's true. Okay. Let me change the district from unassigned. I want to zoom to District 1. So I select that and now I zoom to the district that I'm assigning to, and now it's zooming to District 1. Okay, that's what it was. So if I select it as District 2, now zoom to district will set me to District 2, zoom to District 2. Okay. So it's different experiments to see what it is, to see how it operates, but again, different ways. Notice that when I'm zoomed to district, it's also giving me an outline of the district. It's showing up in red in an outline for that district. If you notice closely, again, we've got that little piece of the city down here that's not assigned to District 2. So that becomes a small inside piece that's not assigned, and it gets its own boundary of red around it because it's that donut hole in the middle of the district. Okay. So that's a whole bunch of the assignment layers. I'm not going to go into overlays quite yet because that's a whole nother piece of capability. Which one? Oh, okay, yeah. John pointed out, if you want to set your target district, again, it's setting on the district that you're setting to. So now if I can set my target to bounce up. I want to set my target to District 1. And again, change that district assignment.
Yeah, there's three ways to set your target district. There's the one at the very top right, at the very top there where you select the individual district. And then also on the edit menu, there's an assign district button. And then there's that quick wheel where you can also, you can't change your district assignment, but you can change your level of geography there.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go over the overlay quite yet because that involves some more geography on that side. And I'm not going to do the smart select quite yet because that's a little bit more complicated. What
Mr.
you-
Brace,
Yep.
do you mind if we take a 10-minute recess?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Okay, all right. Without objection, we will now call a 10-minute recess. Hearing no objections, it's currently 10:35. We will stand in recess until 10:45 so everybody can get up and stretch their legs. Thank you very much. Call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission back to order at 10:55 a.m. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Commissioners, please say present when I call your name. If you're attending the meeting remotely, please disclose your physical location. I'll start with Doug Clark.
Present.
Juanita Curry.
Present.
Anthony Ede.
Present.
Brittany Kellum. Rhonda Lang. Steve Lett.
Present.
Cynthia Orton.
Present.
MC Rothorn.
Present.
Rebecca Satella.
Present.
Janice Follett.
Present.
Aaron Wagner. Richard Weiss.
Present.
Dustin Witches.
Present.
10 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
Thank you. All right, we will continue with our practice of mapping, and I will turn it back over without objection to Mr. Kim Bryce. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Bryce. Sorry, I called you Bryce.
Nope. No problem. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, I'm going to show you one other function to be aware of. And then I'm going to have John do another function so that you can hear another piece that's here. Again, we're in the edit tools. Richard had a great suggestion. I now have, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I did it again today. Let me go and share my window again. Sorry about that. Okay. I changed my mouse size so that you hopefully can see this mouse a little bit better. And it's now highlighted as a black mouse as opposed to white on white, and you can't see it. So hopefully this will be easier for you to follow. What I want to do right now is I want to go over to this Manage Districts button. So if I select Manage Districts, what it does is it brings up a menu of different things you can do with districts. This shows all 15 districts of what I'm showing here. And it shows several different pieces. You can end up in this menu, you can do a bunch of different things. For example, if you want to change in District 1 from being a purple district to maybe being something in a blacker side of things, I can change and select the district color and change the color on that side. So I can change any district in any color scheme that I want through this Manage Districts scheme. It lets me also do a bunch of other things. It'll let you sort on different things. So if you wanted to see which ones, I'm going to show you which ones are locked or not. I can select and look at them on different instances, and I can sort them. So here's, if you notice, I'm clicking on the arrow button next to the various data items or data things in this managed district. I can sort, I can select with, I can do any kind of equations, find the highest, find the lowest, whatever the case may be. I can also see whether or not there's any discontiguousness. Again, that question that you had, Cynthia, in terms of the pieces that are outside of the city or that sort of thing. It'll show up here in the configuration that I've got. I've got in District 2, I've got 2 holes in there. If you remember when we looked at District 2, we can go back to District 2. Notice when I clicked on it, it zoomed immediately to the district. So one of the holes is this one here, and it looks like there's some other piece. I can go and select that and well, I thought that was, maybe it's not at this function, there's another function. But I can see where there are, Yeah, that's in the plan areas. Okay. I can see where there are different pieces on that side. So managed district is a good thing that you can start experimenting with to change colors. The other thing you can do is if you get a district that you like, you can lock it so that as you do that push and drag function, if you're dragging into the territory in District 2 that you have locked, it won't change that territory. Okay. So keep in mind that your locking mechanism is a way of keeping things the way they are. And you don't need to end up making that change. Yes.
So to lock a district, you just select on that line and then click lock?
It is, if I'm selecting District 2, say that I'm within 10%, let me go and add a little bit more to the territory here. I want to assign these pieces to District. Oops, I didn't want to assign it to District 1. Again, that was because my district number was set to 1, not to 2. So now if I go and assign here, I'm going to assign all of that to District 2, and I'm now at 1.4% under. So that's good. I think that's a good district where it is. And so what I want to do is go up to Manage Districts and select District 2, and I want to lock it. That button right there. So I lock it, and it turns the lock status to true. So now if I go back and go into territory and say that I want to assign to District 3, I want to start building District 3, I can assign District 3 to those, and it's starting to build District 3. But if I went and moused over the territory and selected some of this, but also some of that green District 2, watch what happens. When I release it, what it does is, yes, I want to assign. It's not assigning those pieces because I had locked District 2, okay? So that way you can end up setting something that, hey, I like this for this plan, and lock that district on that side. You can lock and unlock at any point in time in the system. So experiment with that in setting up the district that you want and continuing on to another district without worrying about potentially disturbing it and changing it. If the district is not locked, then you're apt to make a change. So if I went over and I wanted to assign now to District 3, again, that's where I am. And I want to assign this territory here to District 3. I'm building this out. Notice what I ended up doing. I ended up picking up that little piece of the city there because my mouse and my box that I drew touched the piece of the city. And so now I've got a discontiguous piece, right? So if I go back to manage districts, that's where I'm going to see I've got discontiguousness on that side. It's a way of cross-checking on the fly as you're going forward to potentially find problems on that side. What you will find as you draw, particularly if you're down at the block level, blocks can be real small. They cleared out a whole bunch of them, cleared out about 87 million around the country from 2010 because they had too many little tiny things like I showed you before, the intersections or the clover leaves of a freeway. Those were individual blocks. They've cleared those out, but there are still some in there. And if you're down assigning at the block level, it's possible that you could miss a little tiny piece that you couldn't really see, but it's there. The system would know it's there and would suddenly catch something like that. And that's where there's checks later on that we'll go through to show that. So this managed district functionality gives you a lot of different things. You can hide and unhide, you can change colors. You can, in fact, make changes to district numbers. Say that you've assigned this to District 3 already, but I don't really want to say that that's District 3. I want to change that and renumber it. I can renumber there, and you need to select a blank district number. So I've selected District 3. I want to change that to District 6. By doing that, now I've moved that, and now that's District 6. Okay. Now, unfortunately, it's green and sitting next to green, so it's kind of not contrasty enough. So I'll go back into 6 and change the color and make that more yellowish on that side. Now I can see it better on that side. So by just changing color and selecting, I can switch territories between 2 districts and move back and forth. So that's fine on that side. I can do that switch, or I could merge 2 districts together on that with this function too. So that gives you a lot of different capabilities on that side. So that's the managed district side of things, to let you look at different things on that, in that regard. So I'm going to turn it over to John for a second. John is going to look at the next function that's there called labeling. So yeah, go ahead and share your screen. Oh, I probably need to get out of mine, don't I? You took control? Yes, you did.
All right. Okay, so I'm in a blank plan, and the name of my plan is Thumb Working Plan version 101. And I'm going to talk mostly here about the labeling function, but also before we get to the labeling function, you want to think about what conventions you want to use for naming your plans. We don't have to have an answer to that today, but just think about how would you do that. For example, you might want to include your initials in it. The commission's initials don't conflict with each other, for example. So you could have, your initials, the type of plan you're working on, maybe a regional notation, something like that, all in the plan's name, so you can know what it is. You may have a dozen plans and be thinking to yourself, I want to show somebody something, but which plan was it? So the naming conventions are something that you need to think about, but that's down the road. So as far as the menus go, we looked at a lot of the plan management, create plans. We talked about that. And now we're on the edit tools. As we go down the list on the edit tools, what I want to talk about is the labeling one. So down here you have labeling, and you check that box and the labels turn on. There's probably a default that is going to give you the name of the geography, the geographic level, in this case, counties, and then the population. So you can see the overview of what the population is for each of the counties in the state of Thumb. Now, if you change your level, again, as if I'm creating a district, I'm going up to the top to select the layer. And instead of counties, I'm going to select township. Now I hit select. And if I zoom in to the townships, the labels pop up with the population of the townships. And this is an important way for you to kind of know what's next to the areas you're looking at. But again, you have to be pretty far zoomed in. And then also, let's look here at Bay City. I zoom in a little bit and I'll go below the level of township to the voting precincts. and it'll give me the same information. It's got the name of the voting precinct, which isn't very interesting. It's just a long string of numbers. But below it in the blue, it's got the population of the voting precinct. So when you're working at the lower levels, that'll give you that information. So I'm going to go back up to county. I'm going to zoom back out. And you can see what the population of each of the counties are. Another thing that we want to get used to is using the undo function, because you'll find yourself drawing things and you'll want to make changes all the time. The undo function is your friend, and Kim has already shown you where that is. It's just the undo last command. So for me, I'm going to start with District 1. We know how to do that. And I'm going to select by county. And what I want to do is I just want to select a whole county that I know is way over the number. I just want to get an idea of what's in that county. So let's look at Bay County by itself. And you want to know, well, what's Bay County look like? So I can go to assign, and I'm just going to select Bay County. I've assigned to District 1. So now my District 1 is all of Bay County. And down here in the deviation box with 104,000 people, I'm 46% over. So it's a surplus of 33,000 people. And I know that this is not really a valid district, but what it does give me quickly is I have a little demographic information down here on just Bay County. So if you want to know a little information about the whole county, there it is. You could also, and I'm going to undo that. So that was nice. That's useful. I know a little bit about Bay County, but I don't really need that right now. So I undo it and now it's gone. But you can quickly get information about an area that way. So in the same way, I can zoom in, select my layer to be township, and I'm going to select Bay City to District 1. So assign just Bay City by itself. So that is 33,000 people. And then you can see the demographic information just for Bay City. So that's one way you can see what you're doing without actually drawing a district. And I'm going to undo that. And I'm out. I'm not in that district anymore. So when you're drawing, and I'm going to change back to county because I want to see the population by county. So that was the default label. So let's click on label. There's a checkbox to turn it on and off. But what's in the label? If you click the word labeling, it tells you what's in the label. And it says select up to 3 fields for labeling across census geography. So on the left side of this box are all these wonderful fields, which you could select any one you want. The default is the name of the geography, so county, or township or precinct, and then below it is a pop total. So that's the ACS is the A, the pop is for population, TOT is for total. And that's pretty close to the top of the list here. So you can customize that. There's a pop total. And if I want to add it, I add it, and now it's going to select and show me that information twice. So now I've got Tuscola, I've got it's 52,825, and I've displayed that twice. Well, I don't want that, so I'll go back to labeling, select the APOP and remove it, hit apply, and now I'm back to the view with the population totals. You could also do more information on the labels. I don't know, do you want me to do another piece of information or do a theme at this point?
You can end up showing a bunch of different things. Go ahead, John, and show other data items.
All right, so again, that's the labeling. So for right now, population is the important thing. The other thing we've got, again, still in this edit, the edit tools menu, you've got thematic. What's thematic? Well, if I click it and turn it on, what did it do? Well, suddenly I've got a theme of circles. So it's greater area for greater population. So now you can see in the state of thumb, which counties are the largest and which are the smallest. So this Genesee County is 407,000 people. That's the largest of the counties in the state of thumb. Saginaw, Bay, those are pretty big. And then Huron is only 31,000. And that's a theme. So what's in the theme? Just like the labeling menu, I can bring up the thematic menu, and it has all these data fields you could choose from. But right now, it's just the total population, which is fine, because all I really want to do right now is I just want to get an idea of how big these counties are. And this is a visual way for me to do that. Now, I can do a more complicated theme by giving a denominator to something. So this is a two-step process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the one field. So there's a remove button. So I remove it. Now I've got nothing. I hit apply and there's no themes. It's giving me an error message saying, well, you've got nothing. You can't do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down and I'm going to look for the African American population, which is here. So APOP BLA. So I select that and I apply, or sorry, I add it. So I added one field. So now if I hit apply, now it's going to give me a theme on the African American population. It should be doing that. I don't know if it is doing that. Let's try that. Okay. Now I'm going to give it a denominator. So that was just the total number. Down below, there's something called the threshold field. So the denominator is going to be the total population. So I add the threshold field and hit apply. And now it should give me the African American percentage. Okay. And then I'm going to change my layer to the township level. And then here's what I'm trying to show. So when I zoom in to the Flint area, I see that Flint City has a fairly high percentage of African American, but let's say another township over here, let me find another one. Gaines Township has a lower percentage and its area circle is much lower. So this is one way you can look at percentages using the themes. And now I'm going to turn the themes off. I'm going to go back to the county level. And I'm going to zoom out. There's a lot you can do with themes, and we're just touching the surface on the themes right now. But it's important to be able to turn on the labels. When you set it for population, it gives you a very good idea of what you need to do in terms of adding and removing population. Let me see what else. So I'm just going to assign a couple of county level districts here. And I already know some of these are, they're more than one district because it's 70,000. So you can look, when we talked about painting the Sistine Chapel, you don't necessarily do from start to finish. You want to look at what you're doing. So if I look at these counties, I can see some of them are over the target population, but some of them are really close to the target population. Like look at Shiawassee. If I click on that and I want to create a district with just that county, if you look down here in the box, it's 68,000 people and the target is 71. That's right on the money. So, you can do this sort of what if scenario at the top level and just see how much population there is in each county and how does that apply to the districts. Now I'm going to undo that. So we talked a little bit about labeling. We just touched on the themes. They're there, but they can be a little complicated. And I just want to get the idea that at the general level, go ahead and look at the counties, go ahead and look at some townships. You can zoom around and get a feel for which ones are heavily populated and which ones are sparsely populated. So let me just pause there and see if there's any questions about that part of it, about labeling or just thinking about the counties. Yes.
So when I click on labeling and I move those two over, name and total population, add them. But if I click labeling, I still don't get label. Actually, it just popped up.
Okay.
So never mind.
So now,
Maybe it just
okay,
took a little
so now
time.
you've got the labels. One thing that can be frustrating is if you're not at the level of geography, you're not going to see it. So I just changed my level of geography to townships, but I'm zoomed too far out. So a lot of times in this process, you'll get comfortable with something and then you'll make a change and go, what happened to my menu? What happened to my labels? So it's important to look and see what did you actually change. So in this case, I changed my level of geography to township, so I can't see it until I zoom in, and now I'll get the labels for the population of the townships.
Okay.
So, that's another thing that we'll become aware of. Okay, so I guess that's all for the moment. We can come back to how to think about the drawing process a little bit later.
So what we wanted to do is kind of give you the update as it relates to some broad functions. I'm going to share back to my screen on that regard. And so we've gone through this edit tools and being able to draw districts, see the districts, all of that. This is the main functions that you'll be doing for building your districts, is within this edit tools. All of the other drop-down menus are different things you can do, analysis wise you can do, reports you can do. All of those other kinds of things are additional pieces. Whether or not you've got data that you want to exchange, once you've got a plan, you can exchange it with somebody else or whatever. There's some utilities and the setting up of the active matrix. But I think the main thing that we wanted to get to today is in this edit tools function. And what we wanted to do then is turn it over to you guys to play with. We're here today. And so I think what we want to try to do is give you a half hour or whatever time to just play. And we'll go around, we'll be here to answer questions for you. See how you guys can manipulate and get a feel for this. And then you can end up asking us questions as we go along.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Mr. Bryce. We will at this point let the commissioners just play with the software program for 30 minutes and ask questions as they pop up. Have the experimenting. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, just a reminder to the commissioners for the benefit of our interpreter, when the questions are asked, that their microphones be.
Thank you, General Counsel.
So that all members have the benefit of not only the question, but the response.
Without objection, the 30 minutes for the commissioners to experiment with the software will begin now. Hearing no objections, please go ahead.
Hi, this is the interpreter. I'm sorry if that's for the benefit of the group. I can't hear what's being said. I hear a voice, but I can't distinguish any words.
Commissioner Lett, can you turn on your microphone, please?
How do you get rid of this?
Put your mouse right here and just click. Okay. You're into map layers. Okay.
Can you drag that up?
Yeah, can you bring it up?
It says dismissed down at the bottom. You
Yeah.
have to auto hide your taskbar. In order to get that to work. Right mouse click on the taskbar. See if you can. auto hide it. Where's your mouse? Bring it down. to the taskbar. Hit that. See if you can find auto hide.
Oh, you're
Taskbar
locked to the toolbar. That's why.
Settings. Right here, turn it on. Automatically hide taskbar. tab.
There you go.
Just touched it. There you go. Yeah, just got it on the bottom.
There you go.
There's your dismissal. See it was hit by the taskbar.
Yep. And dismiss that. Cancel that. Cancel that. Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
Got 10. Oh, this is Dustin Commissioner, which is I have 10 unassigned areas. So this would be the quickest way to just fix it, I would imagine, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, cool. I'll just keep on keeping that.
Yep.
Okay, just for clarity for the public record, in case anyone wonders what we are doing, the commissioners right now are spending this time familiarizing themselves with the Autobound Edge software, practicing in a fictitious area of Michigan, which we have deemed to be the state of the thumb. And we are working on drawing districts in that area just to learn and familiarize the software and become comfortable with it. And coming on and asking questions of our vendors when we have questions about what we're doing.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, the public is watching us.
Just a reminder to commissioners and staff who just joined us and to commissioners who are already present. We're still live in the meeting, and so any discussion or anything, if you're asking questions, please turn on your microphone so that members of the public watching remotely are also able to hear and understand what is being said. Thank you.
Just ask your general question and then I'll.
Yeah, so it's just the,
Okay, so this is how we're going to find the software from the start.
so I hit this.
Hey, Kim.
Turn on your mic. Really? What about our interpreter?
Oh, yeah. Right here too.
Yeah, unless we put it as a desk, maybe we can put a short. Desk.
Yeah.
Dustin,
You want to do it?
what do you think about setting up a shortcut in the desktop?
Yeah, again, because Julian does it all.
Okay, so you don't have a login.
So this is Commissioner Witches, by the way. I think I broke it. So it crashed.
Okay.
And when I
You
go
don't
to
want to create a plan.
So
So
these now say that they were last accessed at 9:41 in the morning,
Do that.
but I am unable to open them because when I do,
This is just changing it.
it'll say, I'll just close it off. So when I am trying to launch the other one, it does the same thing where it says object reference not instant to an object or something like that.
This is just.
But I have no idea what that
the size-
means.
The size
Okay.
of the window.
Okay.
So that was the first one. I'll try the second one here real quick.
Because I need to. We need to get you into the right place. You're not.
Oh, yeah.
You're not
Okay,
showing up
so
with the
I-
right.
Sure.
So.
And then I get that. Try to screenshot that to you.
yeah,
Will do.
yeah.
Okay.
What we can end up doing is also
Really?
say,
Did they
okay, on
just
that
put it in
one,
when you wanted to?
but
It's.
bring it back up again.
Look at the. It's the settings. Settings, okay. So once we set this up.
Clone it.
Actually, what I was thinking about is repairing. So open up the plant manager and just select it, but don't, let's see if, so restore backup.
Well, that's not good. Backup's not been turned down. I wonder if it's for this one too. Same.
And
Because what's happening.
say for one of those configure,
The boundaries in
that's just that, that's not it.
Let me advise Kim of this. She doesn't have any of the data loaded. She has the software, but it doesn't populate with the state of thumb information. So I guess just put her in the queue for next help.
So they didn't, they didn't put everything on there, that they didn't. They gave you software, but they didn't put the data side of things.
It has the active matrix has the correct information. But
Right.
It doesn't come up with the state of thumb.
All right, I'll go into settings and take a look for you in a second. Let me see what we can figure out with Justin's.
This is an easy question.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, it's not a big
What's
deal.
your
I can
question?
always make
Okay.
another one. It's
So
not-
But
You spent all that time last night
I had-
working on it.
I had
you
all
know?
the green checks and
Green checks,
everything.
Everything, yeah, see, you know. Try a save external and see where.
and
that's
they're all
gonna
there.
go.
How do I change? You guys have to
That's what
set
I
it.
wanna do. Okay, now,
Put it on
It
my
is set
desktop
up.
for now.
Got it. So
okay,
you started the plan and it had 38.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
I just couldn't get it back.
We'll go to.
And load
plan
that?
Management.
yeah, let's see if,
You'll probably have to hit done on that first.
Different
So we
version.
go to Plan Manager. And then select, let's do this, let's hit cancel, let's close this plan.
Yes.
So close plan,
so go ahead and import it.
do
Yeah,
this
you
to
can do
close,
that.
yes. Will prompt you to save, but you didn't do anything, okay, so now we're going to do create plan or plan manager, you already have a plan open, right?
Mhm.
Is that the practice one?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's go to configure.
And a crash.
So you have to click it once.
I
Click once and now hit configure.
I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Cancel
anyway,
that.
so-
That's not what we want to do. Number of districts.
One, if you can work with,
That did a sort.
Anthony,
Sure.
he's got,
Yeah.
problems on his computer, which may be like what you were dealing
And I
with
had it.
yesterday.
Okay.
And getting them to
Click on that.
get him better in sync and being able to.
I can do that.
use
What
software.
software is missing over? Yeah, see if you can change it there. Okay, so let's delete this plan. So let's just delete that one plan. Because you don't want to use this one because it's got 38 districts, so. Okay, it's gone. All right, so now we're going to hit cancel. Okay, and now we're going to do create plan. So now that this is where you're going to make the name of the plan again. Maybe use your initials in there or something like that. Maybe put commas and then you can put a long name here if you want. Yep, all right. Now under the plan type, select state senate and don't hit continue. There you have to change it to 15. Now hit continue.
I just have a question.
Thank you.
John or Kim, I just have a quick question. Do we have to manually save it?
It's probably a good idea.
Oh, wait till you're at my microphone, maybe.
It's probably a good idea to manually save, but it will also prompt you to save when you close the plan.
Okay. Oh, I should leave it.
This is Commissioner Witches, just for a public service announcement here. Save and save often, because if you don't and it crashes, you're gonna lose all your work. So keep that in mind.
You're in the edit menu, right? So
No, the way you
minimize
save
the edit
is
tools
by
menu.
going to plan management.
There you go. edit
Like
tools.
and then there should be like a save plan
Go to
link.
Plan management.
You're
Now
welcome.
there's save plan, and then you can manually save it there. And then if you want to test it, plan saved, right? If you then go to close plan, it's not going to close, it's going to prompt you first. Do you really want to close the plan? And then it should also ask you every time you close the plan, do you want to save it?
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, they're just trying to find the software on Juanita's computer. If it didn't download properly, we'll have them reload it.
So that's that. So that's plenty. Choose there. So. Test.
Do we think she needs to have it downloaded again?
Yeah, from there. Is Dustin in going upstairs or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Don't put that in.
I'm just getting this error. It's basically it's not.
Okay, they're just checking out an error here, not finding the
So,
software, so
I'm-
possibly it's gonna
I
have
want
to be
to
downloaded again. We're
unselect
just checking on that.
That.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not figuring out how to do that yet.
Okay, so I figured it out. So if you go and select your target district,
Yep.
change it to unassigned,
Thank you.
hit done,
Oh,
and then
well, what if I just do this?
just hit done.
Yep. I don't need to hit done. It just will do it without hitting
Oh,
done.
fantastic.
Thank you.
There you go.
I think there's a problem with the down.
Okay, I'll let,
Yeah.
I will let Wayne know that there's, from DTMB, know that there's a problem with the download, see if we can download it again.
Yeah. We need this machine.
There might be a.
Which
Yeah, she does.
Upstairs to where there's a better
The
connection. That's
wheelchair, the wheelchair, the.
Wheelchair.
Got a bad body.
Oh, okay. All right.
Kim,
How do you get the colors to work? The district? For anything? Okay. So if you, so you're
Anthony, maybe you know.
you're assigning the District 1 at the township level, selected. Okay, go over to manage districts. District 1 is a color.
So does that mean that's a county too? That little,
Yeah, so it's doing that.
oh, Grand Blanc.
Dismiss that. X out. Okay, now go back to assign. Select township level.
my question was how, do you remember how to lock?
Township level should still be assigned there, select. Scroll down.
Do you see where it says manage districts?
Select the district, select district.
Is it, am I supposed to?
It's under. It is under edit tools.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Oh, okay. I see, thank you.
I'm sorry. It's wrong with the counties. The blue are townships.
Oh, the blues are
Yeah,
townships?
That's what's messing us up. This is the county. This whole big thing.
So, but I couldn't have this be one district because it would be way too many
You
people.
couldn't for here, but you could have this one. Where this one's.
How do we start? over?
So how do we know how many people?
That's easy, create a new plan.
Turn the labeling.
Okay.
You can close plan, go to plan manager.
And it's population total. Okay.
Supposed to go under theme, and it says a pop total.
So there's your chart. Create a new plan.
Now I got a little bit upset.
Thank you.
Ask a question. Oh, that's my mistake.
So the,
So Midland County is more population than one district.
and what I'm,
It is pretty close.
So do you want to make that one?
Yeah.
as I'm
And you have to-
navigating this,
yeah.
I'm also thinking I want to have labels. That was what I was trying to figure
Okay,
out, the
so-
layer. Oh, I
yeah.
do have the labels.
Right, but
I wanna
you're at
see-
you at the township, right?
I'm at the town, I'm at the county level.
Right, so change your level to township.
Who's not here? If I
I know
leave,
you assigned it, so undo that.
Yep.
Undo's your friend.
Yep. Okay. And I've also figured, yeah, this is
So
good.
zoom in a little bit. So
And I'm gonna unassign this one because I wanna,
focus on Midland.
yeah.
Okay, so here's a way to think about Midland.
Mhm.
All right, so you put it in District 2. So it's in there. What's the population?
83.
How much over is it? 12,000.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So now you can think about it as Midland has enough for 1.17 districts. So that's 17% you want to take out. So 17% over. So think about
Because of the
it.
deviation, you're reading the deviation. So what I'm going to repeat what I heard you say. Midland, right, the whole county has 17% more
Correct.
than it needs. So I'm going to try to find that 17% and assign it to District 1.
One of the other districts.
Mhm.
So that's one way to think about it. So it's entitled to one whole district and there's
And
extra
more.
population.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good practice where you're saying right away, it's like, oh, I know that there's a whole district in Midland County.
Right, in the county, yes. Mhm.
So now you want to zoom in and look at the population of the townships.
And what I'm thinking about too is if I'm going to pick up, right, I'm thinking about the verbs of Midland, the town, and how they likely go over here. So what I'm also thinking about is like that city, right, in the suburb area, and recognizing, okay, we have the county line, which makes it, yeah, a little bit more. So I don't want to pick up more around the city.
You have to take out.
I have to take out, and yes, I don't want, right, I'm gonna paint myself in a corner if I take it out from this corner.
Right. So you have to take something that's adjacent to one of the other districts. So you have to take.
So what I'm asking myself right now is I'm thinking about the data that I can see with using the layers to the labels. What I want to do is play with the idea of, okay, I've got the whole county, but I also want to play with the city and the verbs. And I'm just talking myself through this, right? I do the city, the verbs, and I keep myself in the corner because I can't do anything with these folks up there. Because there's no other, in the state of thumb,
So
there's no other place to
there's
pick
no-
up population,
correct.
so I can't do that.
So you're,
Yeah.
yeah, but zoom into the little piece next to Midland City. Now, there's a small piece of Midland City that's in Bay County. If you zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, undo that.
And then,
If you want to avoid that, just go to pointer.
yeah.
If you zoom in a
Madam
little
Chair?
more, that is a piece.
I believe
there.
that the
Oh, you're on county
interpreter,
level.
Mr. Morgan, if you could speak more clearly into the microphone
Sure.
or just a little bit louder.
Yeah,
I do
our-
believe that,
We're trying. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toy.
and thank you for your compliance.
Okay, so what you see there is that there's a piece of Midland City that's actually in Bay County. So you can kind of keep the county whole, which is fine. It's already that way. Like when you go for election purposes, for jurisdiction purposes, that's a township of Bay County.
Yes, okay, which
It's Midland-
reflects.
It's Midland Township of Bay County.
Okay.
But that's just something to be aware of. So if you zoom back out a little bit, now we're at the township level.
Yeah, I just look.
So zoom back out. Now look at those townships on the edge of your district. So like, look at the southern two
Hold on.
townships.
So when you say townships, so I'm
You
on
are downtown,
townships.
right? Just zoom in a little bit
Oh,
so
I
you can
see.
see the pop. Zoom out a little
Yes.
there.
I can't believe
So
this township.
now, how much do you need to lose? 12,000. Well, you could lose
Okay, so I get
Ingersoll
that.
and Mount Haley and Lee and Porter. You're gonna go a long way. But, or you could cut Midland City, or you
And add it to this one.
maybe.
I'm gonna play with that. Okay, and if I want to extract that 17,000, then I need to get down to the layer, which is the census block layer
Or the precinct layer.
or precincts. Okay, so the difference is census block versus like voting blocks, but precincts will essentially change, correct?
No, not for this purpose. For they're not going to change for your mapping purposes. They'll change after you've created these districts, 10 years, 8 years, 6 years
clerks
down
and-
the road. They'll change the precincts. You're not legally using the precincts as a description that carries forever. It's just a description at the time of creation. And then the county clerks may change the precinct boundaries independent of what you've done.
Okay, thank you. So there's no advantage or disadvantage to using one or the other, but they're both the
No,
smallest
no,
layer.
No, there is an advantage. The precincts are a higher level of geography than the blocks. So you
Okay,
don't really
okay.
want to use the blocks if you can use precincts.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And now remember, you've turned off your precinct layer, so you have to go back down to the layer manager.
Yeah. So it's,
Dismiss the menu. Yeah. Okay.
Layer manager.
Layer manager, and now turn those back on. And be careful here. Don't delete them.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. So true. And I want I want both.
Yeah.
Oh, right. But I don't want this one on yet.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
And now
So I get that detail. Got
the
it.
problem is you've now zoomed in, so you need to maximize your window again. So now dismiss that menu.
Right. Oh, and I could save the layer. Oh, interesting. Yep. Okay.
So now you see the voting
You're gonna have
precincts.
to tag team.
Right. And
With their time.
I don't see.
Yeah, I don't see it as on.
Oh, I do see it. Okay, so I
Now
have
it is.
107.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
but I couldn't, why couldn't I delete
Okay.
it?
All right. So
This
You
is great.
should
Yeah,
be
thank you.
able to,
And bring it back down aside, yeah,
yeah, and do it as unassigned.
who knows?
Try, now it's selected to 5.
So let me unassign it.
So now do, unassigned. Okay, so that's. And now use the assign button. Yeah, that one there. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes assign and to unassign is a little bit flaky sometimes. So that's what you gotta just experiment with.
Okay, will do. Okay, thanks.
This is Commissioner Witches. I think what the problem was that the whole, something got corrupted on it because not even the matrix will load at this particular point anymore. And this is like, I did these last night and then I redid this area today, like in the last 30 minutes or so. And then the whole thing happened when it shut off.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, I can just redo it. It's not a big deal.
Right.
But
So what may have happened now is, remember we said save the evaluate or whatever it was in the plan manager above. We did save external.
Excuse me.
External, but it looks like maybe what you've done is you've saved that externally.
Yep.
And that's why you're getting that image there.
Well, let's see if I can open the one that I just did. So it should be here.
This is a question to anyone in the room. Does anyone remember how to lock the area? I'll come to you, Cynthia. Thank you.
Yes, manage
Same
districts. If you
thing.
just
So I
click on
think just
manage
that plan.
districts, it'll bring up a pop-up box for you,
Well,
and then
my
you can
fault. I should have
select and
saved
press
more.
lock.
So it's not a big deal. I'm not too worried about it anyway. But I'll just get rid of it and make another one. Not a big deal for me. And I got a weekend, so.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, thank you.
And we should be talking, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, my one district is the population's too high and I thought it was too low. I read it wrong.
Okay.
So I'm gonna unselect. Set target district on the side.
So we are just about at our lunchtime, everybody, if we want to wrap up what we are doing.
Unassigned townships.
Select. Now it shows you the population of.
Unassigned,
Now change
and I'm
layer
unassigning
township.
townships. And if I go in more,
Down one here. No, oh, here. Oh, wait,
Oop.
you have to do this. Oh. Okay, now do township. under
use the
select
pointer.
layer. Okay,
Then move it over.
click on the word counties.
And what I
Oh, here.
think I want to do is I want to unassign down here. So I'm
And now
unassigning at
hit select.
township
Now
level.
Zoom in a little bit and you'll see the
Assign,
population of
unassign.
the townships.
Yeah.
So now go find your district
Then I
six.
want
And
I'm
you
gonna
need, how much
unassign
population do you need? 20,000?
33,000.
Yeah, okay, so now go up to where your district six is, or you can zoom to it, zoom to
And there's
district.
Bay
select
City, so I don't want to
six.
get too close.
Now you zoom to district
Because then I'm
11.
gonna take away
So,
the curves.
yeah, so you can select
And the
district
Bay, and
six.
then, and the city is the blue, right? That municipal boundary is the blue, right?
Right here.
That's actually a township boundary.
Township boundary. What's
Now
the,
is the
so
blue.
is the orange?
And
the-
the orange is either the city or it is also the precinct.
Okay, yeah. and I-
Okay, the voting
Here,
district.
let's see, because I was under the,
So if you wanted to, zoom out a little more.
under label. No.
So you
Not
can
where
take
I
a
wanna
bunch of
be.
these rural townships and you
want
could
this.
click them in
So,
until you get
yeah, and
15,000
was
people.
That, I'm gonna manage this. When was it? Manage
But where you
district, it
can't go
was
outside is here.
layer
Well, yeah,
manager. Here we
right.
go. Right, so I turned
That's
off
long
the
as I stay
voting
boundary of his district
blocks.
six.
I do have voting
No, no,
precincts
no, the
on
boundary.
Okay.
and the
of his
townships
district
So as
six.
long
on
as I stay
Right.
within.
and the counties. The counties are the dotted lines.
Yes, that's correct.
And I think the blue, I think the blue is the, right? Because it's larger, isn't it? No.
That it is
do what
larger.
you
That
need
looks
to
like
do.
it's
Yeah.
the township boundaries.
Well, that's.
Okay. So the voting precincts must be the
What you're
orange.
doing is you're
Right.
just flowing right
Yep.
through. You're just gonna go draw, 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 draw. You're gonna just fill up your buckets with population.
Okay.
Then you can
Yeah.
come back and say, well, I'm gonna redo that.
Okay. Yeah, make believe.
And I am on, oh, I did it unassign. All right, so now I'm down to
Now, if you change your
15,000.
level back to county, you'll see the county pop.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
going to click assign. And I'm unassigning Frankenlust. All right, and I've still got that. And I've
Heart of Bay. Yeah.
Mhm. So 11,000. And Saginaw, because I've highlighted Saginaw and I need 22,000. So I'm gonna go around there. So I'm gonna paint myself in a corner here.
I think I may have figured it out.
Yeah,
I
you're
was
moving in
trying
that
to-
direction.
I was at the.
Yeah.
I was at the voting
So-
precinct level, I think. And I was trying to, well, I was trying to select this, but it wouldn't select.
8,000 if I actually zoom in. and
I think
can
maybe
see
because
that's
it's,
12,000.
oops,
No, 1,200.
because
1,200.
it's part of
Yeah.
another
Right, so I can do that.
voting precinct part, like I assigned maybe part of the
That's too
voting
much.
precinct to something
Yeah.
else. Is that why?
Yeah,
just
yeah,
went-
yeah, not so. Stop it.
Go,
Oh, sorry.
cancel that. Go, you're on a pointer, so you
You're
can
right.
change to a sign. Now do.
I think I was.
So 7,000
Double click
difference. And
Oh, it wanted.
higher than I
You
want.
still need to go to a sign.
And
Double click a sign. Now do. Click.
yeah,
Okay, I don't know why it's not doing it. Let's zoom out a little bit. And let's try selecting, change your district.
District.
Just change it to 2. And then try to hit assign. I guess it's not recognized as a voting district, so let's do something else. Change your district to 3. Change your layer to township.
3,000 here and 3,000 there. Let's try it. Just see what happens. Did I unassign?
Now select the whole township.
Assign the unassigned.
Sign, yeah. Click.
Oh.
Just a glitch or something.
Did you lock it or something?
I locked one and.
Everyone, can I get everyone's attention, please? So we don't have a lot on our agenda for this afternoon. And so I'm wondering, we have a homework assignment from Mr. Brace. But other than that, we just have one piece of correspondence and a general counsel update and approval of minutes in the afternoon. So I'm wondering if the commission would prefer that rather than us taking a lunch break now, we move through the remainder of items of our agenda with the goal of being done. We should be done by 12:30 and then adjourn at 12:30. Okay, can I get a motion to that?
I move
Oh, do
we
I need a motion for that?
I move we continue.
Second.
Third.
Motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Witches, to rather than continue with the recess or take the recess for lunch right now, we're just going to continue with our agenda, starting with the homework assignment from Kimball, and then we will move on with our agenda items.
Madam
So-
Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry that you were holding the vote.
Take the vote.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion, which is to continue forward without taking the lunch break, please raise your hand and say aye.
Is there
Aye.
Madam Chair, is there discussion on the motion?
Oh, yes, is there discussion on the motion?
I have discussion.
Go ahead.
So we could do that, but we have this time now with our, our vendors and the experts with the software. So I think something we should consider when making this vote is if commissioners would rather spend more time doing what we've been doing for the past half hour while we have them here at our disposal, instead of doing it on our own at home individually.
So keep in mind, if we adjourn the meeting, individual commissioners can still continue to work with our vendors. As long as we don't have a quorum that is meeting with them, we would be able to continue. So the intention would not be that everybody has to leave. If there are commissioners who want to continue to work with EDS after we are adjourned, as long as it is not a quorum of the commission, that can continue. All right, are we ready to vote, or is there any additional discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, the ayes have it. So we will continue with our agenda item instead of taking a recess at this time, and we will move on to agenda item 6B, which will be, actually, let me stop there. So I think we need to do new business item 6A2, which is reach consensus on the regions within the thumb state, but I don't know if we're ready to actually do this at this point. So I would entertain a motion to just adjourn that or move that agenda item off till next week, if anyone is interested in doing that. 6A2, reach consensus on the regions within the thumb state. I think we're all still kind of playing. Yeah, we're all still playing and practicing. So I don't think we're ready to do that. So I think we should just advance that to the agenda on next Thursday. So can I get a motion to that effect?
I move the table, that item till next Thursday.
Madam Chair, for your rules, under your rules of procedure, any items not addressed are automatically carried to the next agenda. So if you don't take any action to resolve that particular line item, it's carried through to unfinished business on the next meeting agenda. Certainly the commission could entertain a motion to postpone it to a date, to the next meeting if it would, but again, either would be appropriate.
Okay, so we can just table it without taking any action on it and we don't need to vote or anything. Is that accurate?
You could either just not address it and it will show up as unfinished business on your
okay
next agenda. Pardon me, please. or you can have a motion to postpone it to
Okay.
the next meeting.
All right, well, let's just move on to item 6B, which is the homework assignment for August 5th. Without objection, I will hand it over to Mr. Brace to assign us that homework assignment. Hearing no objections, please proceed, Mr. Brace.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I had a mouthful of muffin. So what we were looking for everyone to do is to draw districts over this next week. We're going to draw 15 of them. As we've said, want you to work off the various geographic levels, including going down to the block level, so that the goal is to try to bring your 15 districts, each of them down within that 10% overall margin. You'll discover that it's going to take some work and some time to figure this out. This is the joys of redistricting. It does take some time to do this. And so it's important for you to start seeing that and seeing as you start drawing, you'll see there's lots of different ways of drawing. And that's what we want to experiment with. So by all means, the goal is to see if you can draw a plan with 15 districts. Maybe you can draw multiple plans with 15 districts. What we have always found successful is trying to see drawing them from different starting points. So start, the bottom left of the state of thumb as one plan and move upwards, and then start at the top and move downwards. What you'll see when you do that is different directions lead you in different directions. That indeed, when you get into that middle part of the state of thumb, if you came up from the bottom, your configuration is maybe set as you go up into that middle, but it's a different configuration when you come down from the top. That's one of the key components for you to recognize in redistricting. It really is a function of where the starting point is on your side. So experiment with that and see if you can draw a couple of plans. You've got a week to play with and see what is doable with different geographic levels and different starting points. That's probably the two key things to keep in mind as you're working on your plan. Play with both of those. Yes.
So is our homework, are we just using populations and trying to get it within the acceptable deviation, or are we trying to take into consideration some of the actual requirements?
Good point. It would be good if you start thinking in terms of the actual requirements, but also in terms of part of the homework assignment was also over this last week is look at the communities of interest and the public comments that have come in. So that as you look at the thumb region, there are some public comments dealing with that particular region. And certainly in Moon-Duchin's system, you can sort on different areas of the state. So look at those comments that came in from the thumb area to help guide you. Because you want to start taking into account some of the comments that have come into you already. Somebody may have said, from Saginaw standpoint, how you want to divide that out or not divide it out. So start thinking in terms of the circumstances that people may have already commented on to you.
So my next question is, I have on the public comment portal, this is for anyone, I've read them as they come in, but I haven't figured out how to sort them by area. So it's really confusing to try to just pick out the geographical location ones.
I
does
thought
anyone know?
Moon had some tags that lets you define those.
But does that only work if the comment is tagged? So lots of
Yeah.
them don't have tags on them. There's no other way.
And I thought she had also in her summary done some degree of kind of clustering them together in I thought regions is what I remember reading for at least a couple of weeks.
This is Sarah Reinhardt with the Department of State. If you use the advanced search feature, you can certainly search by tag, but you're correct that not every submission has a tag, but that can still be a useful feature for finding some of them. But what I would suggest to use as well is the keyword search feature. So if you type in there Upper Peninsula, it'll result in a long list of submissions that have the Upper Peninsula or focused on the Upper Peninsula. You could also search for UP or something to that effect, and it would pull similar results.
So another question, this is probably for Julianne. Considering all that, if we go in and find some that could be tagged a certain area so they're easier to find, can we put a tag on them or should we not do that?
Thank you, Commissioner Orton. So tagging them as far as the areas that they're speaking about, or, because I know what we were trying to avoid was the summaries of what the written comments were. And Moon, if I understand Ms. Reinhardt correctly, that Moon's team is doing the tags or is not, because is not.
No, tags are user optional. So we had a discussion initially about how tags should be added. And one of the concerns was by adding tags, you might be drawing inferences from that person's map that they would not necessarily apply themselves. For example, you might consider a COI in Western Michigan, but the person submitting it may not consider themselves as a part of Western Michigan. So we did not opt to add the tags for them so that the person submitting can add the tag about what they consider their community of interest.
And that's thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. That was my recollection as well, consistent with the guidance that we gave commissioners about doing that. So no, Commissioner Orton.
Any additional questions, discussion items?
On the homework assignment, I would just encourage the commissioners to not necessarily try to perfect a single plan, but look at multiple plans and then you can go back and forth and see what you like to kind of move forward. But if you spend your time trying to perfect a single plan and going it over and over again, it'll become cumbersome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, good point. So yeah, experiment and as I think we had said before, is try moving in one direction, and if you get stumped, go change and do another plan, go in the other way. So experiment with what might be doable.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we will now move on to our new business, agenda item 7, which is the approval of the minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2021, if there are no proposed edits.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Witches. Motion seconded by Commissioner Lett. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? Hearing none, it is moved and seconded to approve the minutes from July 22nd, 2021. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. The ayes have prevailed and the motion is adopted. Next item on our agenda is staff reports, item 8. Ms. Hammersmith and Mr. Woods provided staff reports yesterday, so without objection, I will ask General Counsel Pastula to provide a staff report. Hearing no objections, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It was very exciting to see the software getting loaded on everyone's computers, as well as the fictional state of thumb discussions happening and the assistance of our consultants. Again, for the benefit of the public, that this was all a fictional exercise to get used to the software and become familiar with the mapping software. When the districts are drawn, it will not be conducted in that fashion when the actual mapping is done. So this was an exercise to get used to the software. Moving on, the litigation counsel RFP, the commission received one response that has been forwarded for your consideration. Staff will be doing their internal review and scoring the point threshold as in all the RFPs in the past and forwarding that to the commission. Because one response was received, the commission may want to consider accelerating the review timing and having the committee meeting earlier than originally suggested. I'll leave that to the commission to decide. And the other update I have is that the draft rules of procedure that Commissioner Lett that Commissioner Lett requested be amended, the draft of those amendments will be forthcoming for your consideration. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Without objection, I will ask Sarah Reinhardt from the Michigan Department of State if she has any updates to share with the commission today. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Ms. Reinhardt.
MDOS has no updates.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to agenda item 10, correspondence. Correspondence has been provided from Dr. Petering, who presented to the commission last week. Do the commissioners have any comments or discussion with respect to that correspondence that we received from Dr. Petering? All right, hearing none, we will move on to our next agenda item. Item 11, future agenda items. Without objection, I will ask Executive Director Hammersmith to share about future agenda items. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Director Hammersmith.
Just in collaboration with what General Counsel Pastula just indicated, what I would like to do is put the committee meeting as the first hour of a scheduled agenda. So next Thursday, hopefully, or Friday, we can get that on the agenda if that's okay with the commission, to take 1 hour out of a regular commission meeting so we don't have to schedule a separate meeting because of the costs involved. So if there's no objection, we'll move forward and do that next week, because I think staff will have adequate time to review and get recommendations to the committee ahead of time.
Any questions or concerns? MC Rothhorn?
I would just offer that it seems wise that we expedite this. This is important.
Can we get a motion with respect to Executive Director Hammersmith? So could you repeat what is it you are requesting from us?
I'm just requesting that we take 1 hour of the commission time next Thursday or Friday, probably be the first hour of the meeting that we would take for the litigation council committee to meet and do their work. And then we would have the commission meeting immediately after that in order to save expenses on rooms and travel and AV and translation, et cetera.
And does that require a motion because it's a separate committee meeting? Is that the idea?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Through the chair to Commissioner Rothhorn. Yes, so currently you have commission meetings scheduled from 12 to 5 on Thursday and 9 to 3 on Friday. So if the commission desires to adjust those times or to schedule a committee meeting, then that would need to be a formal motion and vote so that the meeting can be properly noticed for the benefit of the public.
So I'll make a motion to adjust our meeting schedule as a commission to allow the committee to meet as expeditiously as possible with proper notice, et cetera. How about 12 to 1 next Thursday?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by MC Rothorn to adjust our meeting schedule, seconded by Commissioner Eid to adjust it to 12 to 1 next Thursday for a subcommittee meeting, as well as an adjustment of our general meeting so that the commission or the subcommittee will be able to meet. Is there any discussion regarding the motion?
Madam Chair, for clarity, the motion I have logged is that the committee will meet from 12 to 1 next Thursday with the full commission meeting beginning directly after, beginning at 1 p.m.
Beginning at 1 p.m.
Thank
yes.
you.
So the full commission meeting at 1 p.m. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, moving on to our next agenda item, 12 announcements. Does any individual member have an announcement for us today? Go ahead, Commissioner Witches.
Just to reiterate the fact that when you're working on your plans this week, to save and save often, because if the program closes, you lose all your work. So keep that in mind.
Just for clarity, could you, oops, it looks like I already got kicked out. Could you clarify how we save our plan within the auto bound edge program?
Sure. So on the left side, on the right side of the screen at the top with plan management, if you click on that, there's a save plan button, and that's all you need to hit.
Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Witches. All right, Executive Director Hammersmith, do you have any additional announcements?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, at this point, all the agenda items are completed and the commission has no further business. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Witches, seconded by Commissioner Lett. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. The ayes prevail and the meeting is adjourned at 12:28 p.m. Thank you.